The ants weren't just crawling under his skin. They were biting. He couldn't be near a dog right now. Every time he looked at the thing, he saw his team's dog. After giving the dog time to do his business, Noah took him inside. "Here's the thing, dog. I don't own this place, so don't chew on the furniture or pee on the floor." Unable to think of anything else the dog needed to know, he left the creature to his own devices. He ended up on the Blue Ridge Parkway. His rental car pointed in the direction of the waterfall Jack had taken him to yesterday. After hiking down to the bottom of the falls, Jack had said, "This is a good place to come when you feel like you're about to lose your shit." He'd glanced around. "If you let it, you can find a few moments of peace here." "Speaking from experience?" Noah had asked. "I've spent quiet time here, especially after I first came home." He smiled. "Before I met Nicole." That was another thing. Jack had gone and fallen in love. Noah had never thought he'd see whiskey look at a woman with sappy eyes. Nicole was great, and she'd even seemed disappointed when Noah said he was going to find an apartment to rent while he was here. He didn't think Jack was happy about that either. He'd prefer to have him where he could keep an eye on him. Understandable, since Noah had been falling down drunk when Jack arrived to collect him. After Noah swore there'd be no repeat performance, all the booze he'd poured down his throat hadn't wiped his memory clean anyway. Jack helped him find a lease-by-the-month place. He'd moved in right away, grateful that he hadn't had to sit around with Jack and Nicole last night and pretend he was enjoying himself. If Noah had to be around people 24/7, he was going to climb out of his skin. Peyton Sutton wasn't supposed to hear her fiancé telling his best man that he was only marrying her because her father had promised him a share of her family's brewery, the share that was supposed to be hers. The rat bastard. She'd only overheard the conversation because she'd gotten last-minute cold feet and wanted to talk to Dalton, needed him to assure her that they were both ready for a lifelong commitment. Turned out he was more committed to her father than to her. After she graduated from college, her father had dangled a carrot in front of her. Do this, and a share in the company will be yours one day. Do that, and the entire company will be yours one day. She'd jumped through hoops doing this and that, trying to please him, like saying yes when Dalton asked her to marry him. Dalton was Elk Antler Brewery's chief financial officer, the son her father had always wanted, and marrying Dalton would make Gerald Sutton happy with her. Well, to hell with both of them. She gathered up the skirts of the princess wedding gown she'd grown to hate. She was done with trying to please her father. From the time he'd let her hang out at Elk Antler Brewery, she'd been fascinated by the process of making beer. She'd been 13 the first time he'd brought her there, pointing at the corner where she could do her homework. It was supposed to be punishment for not getting a perfect score on her math test. That day had been far from punishment, and set the course of her life. She spent her afternoons at the downtown brewery, supposedly doing her homework, but any time her father was in a meeting or out of the building, she was learning how to make beer instead. Her father's brewmaster had taken a liking to her, and over the years he'd shared his knowledge, his love of brewing, and his recipes. She could step into his shoes and no one would notice. She'd returned home with degrees in business and marketing and went to work for her father. Pleasing him was impossible, even with bringing in more business with tours and events, but she'd kept trying anyway. Until today. She was over it. He'd made her a promise that he obviously had no intention of keeping. The long hours she'd put in, the heart she put into the brewery, the jumping through hoops for him apparently meant nothing. "Where is she?" Peyton stilled at hearing her father's voice. If he found her, he'd convince her to go through with the wedding. With the voluminous skirts of the gown gathered up, she headed in the opposite direction. She didn't have a plan, since it hadn't for a minute occurred to her that she'd sneak out on her own wedding. 329 guests were seated in the country club ballroom, waiting for her to walk down the aisle in a matter of minutes. They were sure going to be in for a surprise when the bride didn't appear. Avoiding the ballroom, she scooted into the banquet hall. The staff, setting up for the reception, all stopped what they were doing to stare at her. She nodded at the bartender, snatched 2 bottles of champagne, and almost laughed at his wide eyes. "You never saw me," she tossed over her shoulder as she headed for the door leading to the parking lot. She should be in tears, crushed, heartbroken, blah, blah, blah.